Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
Dorothy Martin Level. Dorothy founded the Institute of Healing Arts and Sciences, where, as a leader in the field of integrative health in the United States for 19 years, she trained thousands of medically and non-medically trained individuals in energy medicine. In addition, Dr. Martin Neville founded a nonprofit institute for energy medicine research, where her work was funded in researching the psychological and spiritual causes of various diseases. Dr. Martin Neville's experiences also include co-chair of the advisory board of a multi-million-dollar frontier medicine grant, recipient of an NIH grant funding to research her work in fibromyalgia, and as a clinical instructor at UConn Medical School. So, Dr. Martin Neville, Dorothy, I'm passing it over to you. Remember to unmute yourself.
Okay, here we go. Thank you so much. This has been such a delight. There is, listening to Scott and Meryl talk about the intention. I think of each of those qualities in the intention stick as states of being. As really, you can choose to live in a state of kindness. You can choose to live in a state of compassion. It becomes a choice in how you want to do your life. And for me, the title of this talk is Spirituality as a Life Force for Success and for Health. And spirituality truly is a driving life force. And this, clearly what we've spoken about all day today is spirituality as a life force. It can be defined in any number of ways. But from my work and my life experience, I, for me, have discovered the most simple and profound way of understanding what spirituality is. And we who choose to live from that level of spirit, that level of our own essence, of our own soul, whatever you choose to call it, it's a soul that's calling us to radiate. It's calling us to grow. It's calling us to be filled with compassion as we make ourselves in the world a better place. It's constantly calling us to become more, to unite and become one as a people, to become one with ourselves, because we are so divided amongst ourselves even, and I'll go into some of that in this very short talk, but it's really looking, to me, the most important segment of this in living a spiritual journey is, what is your spiritual purpose? Why are you here? What is it that you are choosing to do with your life? What are you called for? What is yours? Every single one of us has a spiritual purpose. Every single one of us has something we have come here to accomplish, and when you recognize it, and it's so easy to recognize. So I've had people ask me, what if I don't have one? What if I don't have a spiritual purpose? And my desire and my hope is that every one of us have had that moment in our lives when we knew that we were exactly where we were supposed to be, doing exactly what we've come here to do. And some call it being in the groove, whatever you call it. For me, it's living in that spiritual integrity, living in the moment of experiencing why you were here and who you were meant to be. And there's two different pieces. We are here to make the world a better place, but also to make us a better place, to make us a better place for our own essence to live, for our own body to live, for our own presence to be in. It's a journey. To me, this spiritual journey is an adventure. It's an exciting trip. It's a way of going through life filled with the sense of adventure. And I can't imagine doing it any other way. And when you look at this and you look at those folks who are willing to risk self-discovery, who are willing to seek to become their better selves, to recognize that throughout their lives, miracles happen every day. And my guess is, if you listen to many of the speakers who are talking during these few days here with us, that you will recognize miracles happen every day, and they're sharing some of those miracles with you. But you only see them when you're open to see them. You're only open to it when you recognize that you are part of that miracle. that you and your journey are part of the miracle, and you are deserving of those miracles. Once you can see that, you open up, you search for them, you look for them, and only when you look do you see it. It's funny how when we choose not to see something, we don't, even if it is right in front of us. But when we choose to see it, it explodes. It becomes everything. It becomes the motivator, to me, the spiritual motivator that calls us to keep going, watching the miracles happen every day. And to me, that spirituality, that's the life force that calls us. It calls us to success in our businesses. You know, there's different things that we've all experienced, different losses we've had. And my first question is always, what did you learn from it? What was the message? What was the spiritual message from every loss you've had? What is the spiritual message from every success you've had? What is it that became your wake-up call? If you're living your spiritual purpose, if you're living your spirituality as the life force that calls you to go forward, to me, it's almost like, if you can, I live in the Northeast here in the United States. If you can imagine a lighthouse, and here we are on this journey going towards that lighthouse, you've got a clear purpose, you've got a clear focus, you know where you want to go, you know who you need to become to reach that. And on occasion, we're all human. We go off track, we get lost, we go places. But when we do take a look at what was the message, what was the purpose, and when we got lost, what was the purpose when we lost direction, and sometimes, unfortunately, when we even lose ourselves. And if you are going to be successful, whether in your life or in your business, in a relationship, whatever it is you're focused on, it's noticing first, what about that feeds your soul? If you're going to be successful in a company or in following your life purpose, what about it feeds your soul? What about it calls you to become more alive, more honest, and far more clear? When you connect with your soul's purpose, with your reason for being here, there is such a connection to your own passion. There is such a connection to your own reason for being alive, to your own joy, to your own happiness, to your own creativity. Notice that when you're in alignment and doing what you believe you came here to do, you get immensely creative, you become immensely passionate, and you feel immensely powerful. Purpose, passion, and power go together. So if you come into alignment with that, if you recognize what your soul's purpose is, and you recognize that again by knowing what feeds you, what makes you so excited about getting up in the morning? What makes you so excited about starting your day? When that is the case, you're usually living what you've come here to do. And you feel inspired. You feel creative. It's amazing you discover your creativity, sometimes in areas you never imagined. And you feel immensely powerful because everything is so clear. Your self-doubts fall away because you know you're doing what you came here to do. You follow everything. It makes you a better you while you are making the world a better place. If you can imagine you have a dream of something you want to achieve, you grow, you become more and more of you, you develop new skills, you develop new abilities. And when you finally achieve that dream and you're sitting in it, so frequently you reach a place where that dream fit the person who started it maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And now that you've achieved that dream, you realize it fit the person you used to be. And now you're being called to become something even more, to become even more of who you are. And however you're doing it, to make the world an even better place. And as you do that and you jump off the mountain cliff, if you will, you take risks, you go forward, you become more and more alive. And imagine living that way. And living that way, you were living at peace. You were living in joy. You were living in celebration. And you're living in gratitude because you recognize every day as a gift. And in doing that, you also become stress-free. Think about that. When we are living our purpose, when we are filled with passion, when we are filled with creativity, when we feel powerful because we know where we're going, so many of the stressors in life disappear. And when the stresses in life disappear, we end up having health spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Science has accepted that stress is truly the creator of most illness. Stress impacts our immune system immensely. If you're living your spiritual purpose, if you're living in alignment and you're successful at your journey, whatever it is your journey has called you towards, and you don't have stress, rarely do you have illness. Stress results when we walk into an illusion that we are walking this world alone. Stress results from living in a belief that we have no purpose, that there's no reason for our existence, and that even if there was, we wouldn't know how to do it, we wouldn't know how to get there. And we start creating stories that increase the stress in our lives. So recognize again that spiritually, when you're in alignment, you have things going for you. When those moments we step into an illusion that we are alone, our stress is increasing enormously. And we become ill depending so much on our own immune system, because stress impacts the function of your immune system. And when your immune system is weakened, all of your vulnerabilities physically show up. And your stress will impact those areas of your body that are most vulnerable. One of the easiest ways, if you will, that I can tell you to support stepping out of that stress is recognize that most of the battles you are undergoing are battles that are self-created. Most of the battles we undergo come about because, for whatever reason, at certain moments we live in negativity. We lose hope. We forget that this is a spiritual journey. And the more we forget those things, the more stressed we become. The more lost we become to us, the more lost we become to our own spiritual purpose. And we end up, sadly, beginning to make such self-destructive choices. You know, there's a saying that says, if you love what you do for work, you never work a day in your life. If you don't, and you're in pushing, you're in will, you're in force, think about how you get lost in your own journey. Think about the stresses you create. And think about how that impacts your life. And we end up in a spiral going down. We end up, because we're letting go of our own truth, because we're letting go of who we're meant to be, we end up in a self-destructive spiral in which we end up blaming people for choices we make. We end up blaming others for things that are coming into our lives. We forget that life happens for us, and we think it happens to us. And we end up getting lost. That takes you away from the spiritual journey. It takes you away from that life force of spirit that really supports you in creating not just success, but in creating your health. You know, and it's really so funny when you think of how human we are. And I say this often, welcome to humanity, because we're all human and we're going to stay that way till we go home, where you're going to be in human form. But notice the moments for you when we're just looking at stress, when you decide you deserve a day off and you take it off, and we all deserve a day off, but you take a day off and the next day you feel overwhelmed because there's so much work to do. And all of a sudden you become a victim. You become a victim of life. You become a victim of all the people who have given you too much to do. You in your mind's eye, become a victim of all the stresses in the journey. When in actuality, you made a choice. This is the consequence of the choice you made. Step back and recognize that as we walk a spiritual journey, as we become everything we're meant to be, as we live our spiritual purpose in making this world a better place, and each one of us doing it in a different way, we walk further and further into a sense of who we are. We begin developing a great amount of emotional intelligence. We begin recognizing those buttons that push us off site, those buttons that allow us to be truly in alignment with who we are. We recognize what we need to be our best selves. And in doing so, we end up eliminating stressors. We end up creating health emotionally, spiritually, and physically in our own bodies. For many of us, the ability to see where we go off center, to see where we get lost, is in meditation. For some of us, in the practice of mindfulness. And for some yogas, their way of doing meditation. There's no right way, there's no wrong way. If you are going to have your physical health, if you are going to eliminate the stresses in your journey, we can't eliminate the stresses out there. They will always be. What we can eliminate is the way they impact us negatively. We could acknowledge we've got a to-do list that's as long as our arm, and we can get super stressed about it, or we can begin to deal with it as it shows up. What's the one or two things that you could do that eliminate the greatest amount of stress you're carrying? Do those and get rid of them. And then you have the ability to work through the others from a peaceful, relaxed way. And amazingly, when you do that, it goes so much faster. Because stress is what supports the negative thinking. Stress is what supports us betraying ourselves. I know for myself, whenever I get lost in the pits of all the details and the responsibilities, I need to step back. I need to take 2 or 3 minutes, step back into the 30,000-foot view. What's truly going on here? What caused me to step into this mindset that has me so filled with the illusion of victim? What's caused me to step into a mindset that says the world is against me or I'm not being supported? Taking the 30,000-foot view, we develop, whether that again is through meditation, through mindfulness, whatever your faith system is. When we have the ability to do that, we're able to eliminate stress because we see how self-created it is. And we go further and further into walking the spiritual way. We go further and further into remembering this is a spiritual journey. Stress is a killer. It is not what is going to bring us health. It's not what's going to bring us success. And it is a great indicator that we have left the awareness of our spiritual journey, that we've lost sight of who we are. When you imagine yourself as an embodied soul, as an embodied essence, there is absolutely no limit to who you can become, to who you already are. No limit to what you can accomplish. Our limitations only exist in the illusion of our own minds. To walk a spiritual journey is a calling. It's not a daily thing. It's not something you do once. You walk daily, waking up each morning in meditation, remembering this is a spiritual journey you're walking. Remembering that when you connect with that, when you feel that, you're able to put everything in perspective so that your success and your health becomes natural. Your success and your health, your self-care, the realization of how you set yourself up to fail, the realization of how you set yourself up, whether for depression or anxiety, allows you to have a choice. It allows you to step back and recognize that the greatest self-force we have is not will. It's not aggression. The greatest force we have within us is our own spirituality. That is the life force that transforms our business, it transforms our lives, and it transforms our health. My wish for each of you is the ability to step into that state of being, to step into, as in the tree of life, as in the intention stick, to step into the ability to choose to live in peace today, or to choose to live in compassion today, choose to live in order today, so that you are clear, you are concise, and you are focused. It's a way of being. Thank you so very much.